61. Be established. Genius is flourished by solitude and observation of a particular object and practice of hard labor with analysis. Flourish talent, thus prosperity comes. A man can prosper by honest and faithful self-control. There is no dictatorship, torture, greed, sex, disgust in a classless society. Human history is the history of wealth-centered society. Humanity is not yet conscious of the appearance of financial classes, its character, and the ultimate result that is about the existence of financial conditions. A well-balanced person cannot go anywhere. Due to social progress, one should centric by breaking balance. Capital conciliated wealth is being concentrated due to marketing culture. Wealth is going under the control of a few merchant class. A few elite persons turning the wealth of the state and the society under their own control by power and corruption. They are rich who have corporation. Public are those who work for the corporation. Most of the worker don't get their total salary. A little amount of income is left after paying income tax, VAT, savings tax, death tax, utility taxes, etc. A person earned money, pay tax, and then try to run his livelihood with the rest amount. On the other hand, a business earns, spends as much as possible and pay tax with the balance amount money. This is a great loophole of law which is utilized by rich men to increase their wealth by paying less tax. Rich people take the help of corporations and trusts to protect their wealth from the creditors. They control everything but are not owners of anything. So if anybody sue against a rich man, mostly found that the rich man is in fact owner of nothing. On the other hand, low-class and middle-class peoples are quite opposite. 80% wealth of the world is controlled by 20% of people. Development cannot be long-lasting if wealth cannot be controlled. Keep many eggs in a few baskets, not a few eggs in many baskets. A careful and intelligent man never keeps all his treasures at a particular place or hands over all his power to a particular person. And start collecting the eggs well in advance, because it will take much time. Increase of wealth is the game of ambitious people. Courage and patience and extraordinary farsightedness is required for its success. Wealth is like sowing a plant. If you water it for years, the necessity for nursing finishes. Its roots go deep in the soil by the time the plants become a tree by this time and gives shadow to men and other animals. A man does not leave a wealth till he become old and sick. Common people take their houses, savings and pensions, gratuity as their assets. In this regard mostly they become loser if they cannot make of the chance. Excessive capital or money remains unutilized at home. To maintain a house, one is to pay a large amount of money as interest on mortgage, tax on interest, assets tax, etc., and at last the home becomes a van of equity loan. As a result, a huge expenditure goes on. So, by not killing time, not wasting the excessive capital and investing money on the other assets, value of which may rise in future, it is better to be rich rather than remaining a debtors. Real estate, stock, bond, mutual fund, royalty are assured assets to a great extent. In case of stock of small companies, it is better to purchase the primary shares and to sell all the shares within a year. And in case of investment is real estates, the strategy should be to start with a small property and then purchasing a bigger property with the sale proceeds of the smaller one. Value of properties rise all on a sudden. So it should kept under one's possession for about 5 years, but it can be sold earlier if a good price is offered. Rich people, first of all, make their assets and then they purchase luxury items. Middle-class people tend to purchase luxury items first of all. Rich people purchase luxury items out of the income from their properties. Low and middle-class people purchase luxury items out of the money earned by their sweat and blood and the money inherited. Most of the people purchase luxury items with loan out of emotion. Then the loans become headaches for them which spoil their mental peace. We should plan in a way that all our expenses are met out of the income from our assets and we can purchase further assets from the balance money. In this way, both asset as well as its income increase day by day. A man whose income and expenditure are equal can never invest in property. and he whose expenditure is more than his income increase his liabilities and loans day by day. Property takes a vital role to assure the minimum standard of living of a man. Don't spend money from savings or investment. Protect the fort of the property like a good soldiers. Be careful for reducing liabilities and expenditure. Then you can invest money for purchasing properties. When the foundation of your properties will be strong, you will be able to invest in more profitable sector. All investments are risky, but you are to find out more and more alternative to avoid any risk. To keep the alternatives limited is like living with old notions. Most of the people save money from his routine expenditure and pays money for the properties purchased. You are to learn how to be gainer by extra work. Fix an approximate amount for expenditure, decide to do your jobs yourself and fix your target. Make such a property with mindset which will give you financial liberty. Spend in such a way so that you can run yourself with the cash flow you receive. Your next aim should be to invest the excessive cash flow again in the property. The more your properties will increase, the more your cash flow will increase. At the same time, you are to find out other source of income, so that you are not to do any physical labor. If this system of investment again and again goes on, then you can be a rich man at one stage. Taxation officials torture a man more than that any other person, they will always take much. Then comes extorters, terrorists, thieves, robbers, hijackers, gamblers, cheats, liars, illegal and immorally possession holders, imperialist etc. As such, the rich people pay handsome incentive, salary, commission or pay money once for all to different legal and illegal professional advocates and accountants so that they are not deprived of increasing their properties day by day, which is less expensive than the maintenance cost of the properties. In all countries, religion depends on its ruler. The ruler is dependent on the army. The army is dependent on the money and properties of the country. Wealth and properties depends on justices. Assets are the basic power and foundation of a political system. In fact, above all, a desire for acquiring properties has introduced the beginning of civilization. All lands are the properties of some communities of blood-connected people. In early ages, succession of lands were limited among some particular communities. All lands were succeeded by the relatives of its owners of their own communities, and the closest relatives got priority in this respect. This was the basic principle of succession of land property. The words community and family are similar to brotherhood. As such, the closest persons among the brotherly relation used should be the successors of all land properties. At that time, a special arrangement was there for the female successors, helpless women and orphans. Women started to live in large families. Their food used to come from community store. Each community used to perform some social functions. They had some common land property. In early ages, women were treated as the heads of families instead of man. At that time, the only measuring scale of women was their physical qualities. Always the sense of prestige and liberty, that is the qualifications for honor, were more among the women than the men. Somebody knows how to decorate a clay idol like a prince, and somebody can't realize a prince though he get near of a prince. In human civilization, the contribution of property is to a great extent which controls everything. Gradual development of the ownership of properties was going on, keeping pace with the development of discoveries and inventions. The signs of gradual development of properties were clearly apparent by its variety and quantity. In the early age of civilization, so much variety of properties were developed. Gradual development of properties is closely related with the development of the social institutions. In those days, the ideas about valuation, demand, utility and succession, and the greed to acquire property were fully established. At a stage, men learned how to cultivate lands in a systematic way. As a result, the families and the lands became integral part of one another, and each family became a property-acquiring organization. Then the primitive systems could not face the ever-developing situations. In the Semitic communities, an organization of servants and slaves was formed under male heads for protecting properties and helping in daily activities. In fact, laws were introduced for the interest of accumulating personal property and protecting and enjoying its outputs. The practical knowledge about properties was recognized as a positive and full-fledged knowledge, and specific laws were formed instead of the customary laws of Ceylon. These laws are being used and enforced so much tactfully for the interest of the owners of the properties that it has become an intolerable pressure for the common people. And the properties have become the sources of problems. People became subject to the regulations in connection with the religious, family, political property and dwelling houses. It is better to dominate in the hell than to be a slave in a heaven. Clever people do every act appropriately, otherwise, they would lose their wealth. A man can be called a rich man only when, in comparison with others, he can buy much more kinds of articles for himself or can use them. He who knows exactly how much money he has is not called as a rich man anywhere in the world. The money which is not spent for the welfare of mankind, the power which is not used for protecting the rights of mankind, the education which is not meant for teaching people about the truth and justice are all useless. Without a great heart, a rich is like an ugly beggar. The power for doing something good for mankind is the wealth in its real sense, but wealth for luxury is no wealth at all. A man's property is normally used for religion, fame, earning money, sex, and for his nearest ones. The greatest beauty of a man is his properties, assets and powers. The greatest success of a man comes from his work, not from his home or bed. The man who has been honored in the field of his work is the efficient and diligent. He has succeeded in the most important examination of his life. The house says I have got it, the root says I haven't single quote she got yet. As having only a house without having a path is a bondage, so also having a path without having a house is a punishment for man. A man's own land and home make him too much fascinated to them. Wealth are rooted in one's heart without one's knowledge. A south-facing house is the best, the east-facing one is next to it, the north-facing is tolerable, but the west-facing is not desirable. One should build a house in an open place keeping up on to the east, garden to the west, leaving vacant space to the south and touching the edge of the north boundary. As we don't have the right to enjoy wealth before increasing it, likewise we don't have the right to enjoy happiness before expanding it. All human beings are similar by their basic nature, but there is a great difference among them in dealing with practical matters. Keep yourself away from the greed of money, and only then you will have abundant wealth. He is to spend more who wants to curtail it. He faces loss who wants to save. He loses who grips something tightly. A wise man does not save but think that everything is for everybody. Sometimes a man without any greed, having sharp intelligence and fearless personality, also changes his personality to the opposite direction. Wealth is the best master but the worst teacher. The wealth of a man which is unseen, makes a man happy and envious to other. Love for one's wealth is not a matter of contradiction, but it is our tradition. We want to express ourselves in wealth as a source of that expression. Those who think too high of themselves, normally remain silent. A person's status in the society is determined according to his mentality. A man's sense of values remains according to his will and ideology, which can remain immortal in different ways. It may be succeeded through his successors or their success. Aim of all efforts is self-protection. Due to uncertainty of gaining wealth for all, the rich people only have the right to determine what is good or bad. Because a rich man considers a poor man as negligible like anything. Do some creative work which is having demand, be diligent and you will be wealthy. Education, character and knowledge make a man superior in respect of wealth and honor. In this world a man can win only through austerity, character and knowledge. An unknown and disobedient person should allow to understanding his ability gradually. Nobody can survive in this world without more or less financial influence and popular support. We are to keep our wealth well protected from the king, administration, thieves and enemies, and deprivation by the successors. The more a poor man living in a hut is assured of his safety, the more a king is worried about it. Permanent abundance of wealth and food is important to raise the financial status of a person. Ownership of a man on his property is valid till he has the right to own it. A fool can't hold his wealth for long. Fools want to protect their wealth first and then their wives. But the wise people protect themselves first, and then their wealth and wives are automatically saved. An intelligent man sacrifices his life for religion, a limb for his life and his wealth for his limbs. We should save money to face odd days. A wife can be saved by money, wife and money can be sacrificed, if necessary, for the sake of self-defense and religion. A man becomes really successful when he acquires the knowledge of earning money, keeping it stable and prosper, when he is encouraged to show courage, when he can become powerful with the help of money and administration and becomes a masterly powerful man. Animals, food, grains and gold are the real assets, and the rest are all useless. A pearl is thick, round, having no plain surface, bright, transparent, heavy, having fine surface, and beautifies wherever it is placed. There are various kinds of gems, such as bluish red, like a red lotus, like a heavenly flower, like a rising sun, like a focusing light, blue and like a crystal. The characteristics of a gem are 6 angles, 4 angles, circular, very bright, suitable for fixing in any ornament, clean, fine surface, heavy, dazzling, seems to be moving in the center and can enlighten the nearby objects with its own brightness. There are several kinds of diamonds, such as cat's eye, like a flower, yellowish, having color like cow urine, like a crystal and like a pearl. Characteristics of a diamond is that it is thick, heavy, fine surface, hard, equal angles, very bright, focuses, reflects light, making lines, and seems to be moving around. There are 2 kinds of coral, those are red and light red. Characteristics of gold are that it is having a color like the stamens of a lotus, does not make any sound, soft, bright and dazzling. Merits of gold ornaments are that its weight and color don't change, the stone fixed with it don't change its places, durable, gives pleasure when put on, suitable for manufacturing in artistic way, dazzling, can be given any beautiful shape and is nice looking. Silver is white, soft and smooth. Properties of sandal are that it is light, smooth, remains moistures for long, mixes with human skin like butter oil, scented, mixes up with human skin very easily, gives pleasure when used on human skin, only leave its scent and colors when rubbed on human skin, protects human body from heat when rubbed on skin and gives comfort when rubbed on human skin. Lather is soft, smooth and covered with hair. A piece of diamond is more valuable than a friend, and a plot of land is more valuable than a piece of diamond. A plot of land which is easily accessible is better even if it is of a small quantity and if it can be protected easily and can be used as a shelter. An enemy can't occupy a unite man's land. It is easier to reoccupy a plot of land from a person who is weak, helpless, non-energetic, from minority community, engaged in a legal profession, dependent on supernatural power and leads himself whimsically. Evidences given by the neighbors are very important regarding any dispute about a residential property. Ownership of a residential plot does not remain valid if it is neglected for a long period. He who collectivities in abandoned land with hard labor becomes the owner of the land. 2 important factors for a cornfield are the care and actions of its owner. A man's name and his feelings as owner of a property are inseparably mixed up with his egoism. Social and financial factors are responsible for the attitude of mastering on other. Socio-economic condition influence an entity to think and act about personal and material gains. Earning, influencing others and urge for fame are all aimed at self-establishment. A man taking birth in an ordinary family and being brought up with common people, rises himself above others, thus he promotes himself with his own qualities. To acquiring wealth is the prime dream of everybody. Aristocracy is always cruel. Personal property is a great source of power, it helps a man to oppress other. Virtue and vice, piousness and sins, civilization and barbarism, love and deceit are all loyal to wealth. Wealth is such a thing which does not have any choice for any caste or creed. It embraces civilization and barbarism, justice and injustice, and humanity and animality at the same time. Wealth is constructive as well as destructive. Build up yourself to adjust with poverty in spite of being a wealthy man, because wealth is a very temporary thing. Life is temporary, so you should enjoy your life side by side with earning money. The boundary of a life is very limited. The sooner a man starts enjoying his wealth is better. The deepest philosophy of life is self-establishment and manifestation of personality. Absence of a good personality is similar to death. The most important characteristic of wealth is that it creates inequity. Knowledge, biasness and knowledge on fine arts don't decrease if given to others, but wealth does not last if not extorted and protected from others. As such, the capitalists create poverty for their own interest. As cow dung spreads bad smell when heaped together but becomes a manure when spreaded in a cornfield, likely man is called a miser when he keeps on accumulating wealth for himself only. But when the same man donates his wealth to others according to his ability and others' need, his bad reputation as a miser is wiped out and he becomes famous as a benevolent man. There is a pain and a failure in enjoying crops from field and money from service for oneself only. But there is great pleasure in enjoying that very crops and money along with the dearest ones. Riches of a person become permanent who accumulates it through frugality. Wealth meets a man's needs, but excessive wealth makes him egoistic. There are many instances in the history about them who were ruined due to excessive luxury. Where there is more wealth, there is more immoral acts over there. Money earned without hard work invites painful result for a man. He who is rich through inheritance is not respectable. The wealth inherited from one's father does not increase but decreases day by day. There is honor, glory and beauty in self-earned wealth. Money when spent sitting idle is exhausted within no time, but when it is spent side by side with earning, it never finishes. Drops of water make a sea. Accumulate wealth from everywhere and enjoy. The wealth earned dishonestly keeps on being exhausted day by day, and that which earned honestly keep on increasing day by day. As wealth increases a man's responsibilities, it also makes his rights well established. Wealth becomes permanent when owners of it remain alert about their responsibilities. And those who forget about their responsibilities invite exhaustion of their wealth themselves. Everybody wants wealth, but all of them can't protect it. Remember, a thrown stone never comes back. So try to make proper use of wealth when it comes to you. Wealth is surely meant for enjoyment. In fact, wealth is not owned by him who earns it but owned by those who enjoy it. The earning which does not serve the purpose of enjoyment is useless. Thirst for knowledge and acquiring wealth are never subsided. If a man is given 2 gardens full of wealth, he will desire for the third one. If somebody aims at the peak, it is not dishonorable for him to stop at his second or third step. Everybody should try to increase and develop his earning and properties respectively. A good thing remains good for all the time. Saved money may be misused at any time. Because money has wings. We should save and protect money for our ruined days.